Before you lie 4 stones. At first glance, they might seem like simply beautiful minerals, but in archetypal language, they are symbols, capable of reflecting the deepest layers of your unconscious mind. Carl Gustav Jung asserted that symbols are doorways to our true nature, and the choice of a stone is never random. It speaks about you more than any words ever could. The stone to which your heart is drawn acts like a mirror, revealing hidden aspects of your personality, qualities you've long carried within but perhaps rarely acknowledged to yourself. Today, you'll see before you 4 images: sapphire, emerald, ruby, and moonstone. Each has its own character, its own energy, its own archetype. Don't analyze, don't compare, simply trust your first impulse. The stone that feels like yours will be a hint from your deepest self. This test is not entertainment, not a random game. It's the projective language of the soul. Pay attention to your sensations, because they're what lead you to understanding who you truly are.
You chose the sapphire. At first glance, it's merely a precious stone with cold blue radiance, but its light is not a reflection of external brilliance like a diamond or ruby. The sapphire shines from within, as if it contains the eye of the soul itself. And if this particular stone called to you, it means your psyche has long been attuned to the frequencies of inner searching. You are someone who knows how to see deeper than most around you. Where others hear words, you catch the pauses. Where conversationalists see a smile, you notice the shadow of sadness in the eyes. You live simultaneously in 2 dimensions, external and internal. Outwardly, you may seem like an ordinary, even reserved person performing your roles. But inside, you contain an entire universe filled with sensations, symbols, dreams, and insights. The sapphire symbolizes honesty and clarity. It's the stone of those who aren't afraid to meet truth face to face, even if it's bitter, even if it frightens. And if it resonated with you, it means your soul no longer seeks illusions. You're ready for self-knowledge, for an encounter with the shadow, that hidden part of personality where your fears, jealousy, pain, and repressed desires are stored. But there's no weakness in this. On the contrary, this is where strength lies. You know that only those who can look into their own darkness gain authentic light. From childhood, you may have felt that you view the world differently. You might have been considered too sensitive or too serious. But this is merely a reflection of your unique gift, the ability to notice what others ignore. You see when a person lies, even if they carefully select their words. You sense when tension hovers in a room, though no one speaks of it. This is the energy of sapphire: to see deeper, to hear the invisible, to recognize what's hidden. But this gift has a flip side: loneliness. You reveal truth, and in response, you meet silence. You share your vision, and you're perceived as a threat to the familiar order. The sapphire teaches acceptance of this. It reminds you you're not obligated to be understood by everyone. Your purpose is not to conform, but to be a bearer of clarity. In Jungian psychology, the sapphire is connected with the archetype of the sage and the shadow bearer. This is someone who understands that a person doesn't consist only of light. In each of us lives fear, anger, jealousy, and weakness, but it's precisely the acceptance of these aspects that makes us whole. You already know that darkness is not an enemy, but part of the picture. Therefore, you can hold another's hand in their own darkness because you've been there yourself. You know how to support through presence, not empty words. This is a rare gift, and it requires careful handling, because diving too deeply into others' pain can leave you depleted. The sapphire reminds you, helping others is important, but remembering yourself is even more crucial. Your strength lies in honesty, but your pain lies in isolation. When you open your soul, not everyone is ready to withstand this level of depth. Sometimes it evokes fear or even rejection, and then the sensation of loneliness arises, as if you're opening yourself and receiving only silence in return. But this is precisely the sapphire's lesson. Your value isn't in always being accepted, but in seeing the world more clearly than others. You are a bearer of inner light, and your task is not to chase approval, but to learn to trust yourself. Jung said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks within awakens." And the sapphire is precisely about awakening. The power of sapphire is great, but it has its shadow side. If you get stuck in self-examination, it's easy to fall into excessive seriousness, gloominess, or cynicism. It's important to remember that inner vision must be balanced with life's joy. The sapphire teaches seeing not only pain, but also light. It reminds you that dawn is also part of truth. Therefore, if you chose this stone, don't forget, your depth is not a sentence but a gift. But it needs to be used not to retreat further into solitude, but to return and share your light. If the sapphire resonated with you, it means a moment of honest inward looking has arrived in your life. You are the one who is already ready to stop hiding behind masks. You are the seer, the observer, the seeker, the one capable of going deeper than most around you. And your main challenge is not to forget, your strength lies not only in darkness, but in the ability to meet light.
You chose the emerald. At first glance, it seems like simply a beautiful green stone, but its energy runs much deeper. It's a symbol of journey, seeking, and inner transition. If sapphire calls you to look inward, emerald calls you to move forward. Its green color reminds us of growth, renewal, of spring when the old dies and the new is only beginning to break through the earth. Emerald is always connected with movement. In the Jungian tradition, this is the archetype of the seeker, the hero undergoing initiation. If it resonated precisely with you, it means you're at a moment of transition. You're standing at a crossroads. Behind you remains the familiar, the safe, but already dead. Ahead lies something unknown, frightening, and alluring simultaneously. You may feel anxiety, hesitation, the desire to delay choice, but Emerald whispers, "It's time." This is the stone that reminds you, you cannot ripen by sitting still. True becoming happens only in action. You've always felt a call within yourself, even if you couldn't explain it in words. This call made you change professions, places, environments, roles. You seem to be constantly searching for that thing, but never found a final answer anywhere. Because you're not seeking the external, you're seeking the internal. Not place or status, but meaning. And this search is not a curse, but your nature. You're a person of the road, and your soul comes alive precisely in movement. But along with this, you also carry the emerald shadow, fear of choice. You might postpone the step, endlessly analyzing, preparing the ground, waiting for the perfect moment to appear one day. However, the truth is simple. The moment will never be perfect. Any decision made with awareness is already correct. And this is precisely what Emerald reminds you. Your task is not to wait, but to act. You're one of those who can open doors not only for yourself, but for others. When you move, you inadvertently show the way to the rest. You're like a pioneer who leaves a path where before there was only wild thicket. And though it may seem to you that you're wandering, for others, your experience becomes navigation. The emerald carries another deep meaning. It's a symbol of rebirth. Its green light is like spring light after a long winter. It's the energy of renewal, purification, transformation. If you chose this stone, it means the process of change has already begun within you. You may feel that the previous version of you no longer works, that old habits and roles are bursting at the seams. This is natural. Emerald says,
Allow the old to die so the new can be born. Your heart may be tired of endless doubts and analysis, but Emerald reminds you, meaning lies not in the final goal, but in the journey itself. You're a seeker, and this is your strength. You're not one who settles for the superficial. You always dig deeper, seeking essence, seeking truth. And even if it continuously eludes you, the process itself makes you alive. If Sapphire is the inward glance, then Emerald is the step forward. And your soul chose precisely it because the time has come to go. Yes, it will be scary. Yes, there may be mistakes. But your path is not about perfect decisions. It's about courage, about the ability to trust the call and move where your foot has not yet stepped. Emerald speaks of you thus: you are not stagnant water, you are a river. You cannot stop, otherwise you'll begin to stagnate and rot. You need the road, change, new horizons. And yes, sometimes this means releasing the old, but this is precisely where your life and your power lie.
You chose the ruby. Its red light is unmistakable. It's like a flame that burns within, even if everything looks calm on the outside. The ruby is the stone of the survivor, the one who has passed through trials and carries them in the heart. Its energy isn't about ostentatious brilliance and decoration, but about inner fire that warms from within, even when everything appears calm on the outside. You chose the ruby. This means that in your soul lives memory of struggle and strength born from that struggle. You know what it means to wear a mask because you've had to. You played roles, adapted to expectations, became who you needed to be to survive, fit in, protect yourself. But Ruby whispers, enough. Now your soul wants to be itself. The red color of this stone is not only passion, it's also blood, pain, and truth. It's a reminder that your vulnerability is your true strength. You know how to survive, but the time has come to live. Under the mask of charisma, strength, and composure, there's always been a soft, real, vulnerable person within you. And precisely this is your authentic value. The ruby is a symbol of inner flame that smolders beneath a layer of protection. Perhaps you had a period when you played the role of the strong, unshakable, perfect one too much, but at some point your soul grew tired. The real you craves truth, craves opening up, even if it's scary, because only nakedness births genuine contact. If you're drawn to Ruby, it means you're ready to stop hiding. Your mission now is to stop being who others want to see and become yourself. Yes, it's a risk. Yes, there's fear that you won't be accepted. But precisely in honesty lies your strength. People are inspired not by your armor, but by your vulnerability. When you allow others to see your true face, you become an example. The ruby is the archetype of awakening. You were long in survival mode, but now you can enter life mode. This is the transition from survival to authenticity. You may feel that the fire within demands release. This fire can manifest as passion, creativity, love, strength, readiness to defend truth, but at the foundation of everything is sincerity. You know how to be a strong leader, and at the same time it's important for you to learn to be soft. You know how to control emotions, but the time has come to learn to express them. Your depth lies not in perfectness, but in honesty, and Ruby reminds you of this. This stone speaks of you thus: you're someone who knows the price of pain. You know what it means to lose, to be disappointed, to be rejected. But precisely because of this, you know how to truly value closeness, honesty, and love. You don't waste time on the superficial, you seek the real. If you find it, you are loyal to the end. The ruby is the archetype of the survivor, but also of the one being reborn. You've passed through fire and carry it within you. Now your task is not to burn yourself with this flame, but to learn to shine.
Your flame can warm others, inspire them, help them courageously be themselves. You are the survivor, but now you can be alive.
You chose the Moonstone. Its soft shimmer doesn't blind like diamond's brilliance, and doesn't cry out like ruby's fire. It's quiet, calm, but in this calm lies special power. The Moonstone is always connected with cycles. It seems to breathe in rhythm with the moon, changing with its phases, reflecting what's hidden beneath the surface. If you're drawn to this stone, it means your soul is attuned to the rhythms of time, fate, and deep awareness. You don't perceive time as mechanical movement of clock hands. For you, it's like the breath of the universe, an endless flow of moments, each unique and irretrievable. That's precisely why you often feel the value of the moment more deeply than others. It's difficult for you to live superficially. You don't know how to do things halfway. If you agree, it's with your whole heart. If you refuse, it's final. Your yes sounds like an oath, and your no is impossible to shake. From childhood, you may have had the feeling that you're older than your years. You saw illusions where others were delighted, noticed emptiness where they sought meaning. The Moonstone has made your soul sensitive to the authentic. You don't tolerate games and masks because you clearly distinguish where there's life and where there's only its imitation. Sometimes this makes you strict with yourself and others. After all, you understand too well that time is too precious to waste. The Moonstone is connected with the archetype of the sage and the called one. It symbolizes inner maturity, the ability to see wider and deeper. But along with this comes weight, anxiety that you won't have time to realize everything you've conceived, fear of losing a precious moment. Sometimes you overload yourself with tasks because life seems too short. But Moonstone whispers, your strength lies not in haste, but in presence. You're someone who can awaken others. Your presence reminds them of the present. You're like a bell that sounds in silence and returns attention to essence. People beside you begin to feel more deeply, look at themselves more honestly. And though sometimes they perceive you as too serious or not of this world, it's precisely this energy that makes you special. You know how to point the way, not with words, but with your state of being. And in this lies your power. You didn't simply choose a stone. The Moonstone chose you because you're ready to accept its energy. You're ready to be awakened and to awaken others.
You made your choice, and now it becomes clear. This isn't simply a beautiful stone that caught your eye. It's a symbol, an archetype, a mirror of what's hidden in your soul's depths. Sapphire, emerald, ruby, or moonstone, each opened a truth to you that's impossible to invent because it was already living within you. Sapphire revealed those who know how to look inward, who aren't afraid to meet their shadow while maintaining clarity and depth. Emerald reflected the seeker's path, the one standing at transition, who doesn't stop and seeks meanings even if the whole world calls to stay in place. Ruby disclosed the survivor's energy, who wore a mask but is ready to cast it off for authenticity, honesty, and living emotions. Moonstone reminded us of time cycles, the value of each moment, and the mission to awaken others through your presence. You see that these archetypes don't argue with each other. They're like four cardinal directions, like four voices in one choir. In each of us exists shadow and light, thirst for seeking and fear of change, survivor's strength and time's wisdom. But today, one stone resonated with you more strongly than others. And precisely in this lies your soul's response. It says, this is what's important for you now. Your choice is not coincidence. It's the language of the subconscious which doesn't know how to lie. And if you recognized yourself in these words, it means the stone truly chose you, not the other way around. Write in the comments which stone was yours. Share whether the description matched what you feel. Because it's precisely through such moments that we come to know each other and ourselves. And remember, each of these stones is not simply a symbol. It's a door inward. And looking inward is always the bravest journey a person can undertake.